All right, today we're jumping into one of the biggest bets in technology right now, hydrogen-powered flight. It's a pretty radical idea, right? One that could completely decarbonize our skies and change the way we travel forever. So how close are we to this actually happening? Let's dig in.
I mean, it really does sound like something out of a sci-fi movie. The idea that we could power these massive jets with the most common element in the universe, and its main emission would just be water. But that one single question is what's driving billions of dollars in research. So, how real is this?
Okay, so first up, let's get into the why. Why all this buzz about hydrogen all of a sudden? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Pressure. A whole lot of pressure. The entire aviation industry has this giant clock ticking over its head. With these huge global net zero targets getting closer and closer, airlines know they can't just keep doing what they're doing. They need a total game changer, not just little tweaks here and there. And for a lot of people in the know, hydrogen is looking like the top contender.
And really, this slide just boils it all down perfectly. It's so simple. On one side, you've got your standard jet fuel, pumping out CO2. On the other, hydrogen fuel. And what comes out is H2O, water. And that simple switch in chemistry is why everyone's so excited about a zero-emission future.
And the good news doesn't stop with CO2. We're talking about completely getting rid of in-flight carbon emissions. Plus, it drastically cuts down on other nasty stuff, like those little soot particles and nitrogen oxides. The stuff they call NOx, that also contribute to warming. It also opens up a path to energy independence that you just can't get from batteries on bigger planes. The potential here is huge. We could slash aviation's climate impact by somewhere between 50 and 90%. That's massive.
But of course, if it were that easy, we'd probably be doing it already. The dream of green flight runs smack into some absolutely colossal challenges. So let's get real for a minute and break them down.
So the industry basically has 4 giant mountains to climb. First, you gotta figure out where to even put the fuel on the plane. Then you have to build a whole new global system to make it and get it to the airports. Of course, it has to make financial sense, and the number one priority, it's gotta be unbelievably safe.
The very first hurdle comes down to basic physics. Now, hydrogen packs a serious punch for its weight, about 3 times more energy than jet fuel, but it takes up a ton of space. The best way to think about it is like this. Jet fuel is like packing your suitcase with heavy, dense bricks. Hydrogen is like trying to pack the same amount of weight but using fluffy feathers. You're going to need a much, much bigger suitcase.
So to solve that big suitcase problem, you have to do something pretty extreme. You have to chill the hydrogen gas until it becomes a liquid at a mind-boggling negative 253 degrees Celsius. I mean, that is just a few degrees away from absolute zero. We're not talking about a kitchen freezer here. This is serious cryogenics on every single plane.
So what does that actually mean for the plane itself? Well, it means you need these huge, heavy, perfectly insulated tanks. And where do they go? Usually right in the main body of the aircraft, which, you guessed it, means less room for passengers and cargo. For a normal mid-sized plane, that could mean giving up dozens of seats.
And then you hit the next brick wall. Infrastructure. This quote just says it all. It's a classic chicken and egg problem. Think about it. Airlines aren't going to place billion-dollar orders for hydrogen jets if there's nowhere to refuel them. But airports aren't going to spend billions on new pipelines and tanks if there aren't any planes coming. It's a total deadlock.
And this problem goes way beyond just what's at the airport. For this to actually be green hydrogen, you have to produce it using renewable energy. And that means we need to build an entirely new global supply chain pretty much from scratch. One for producing it, chilling it down to a liquid, and then shipping it all over the world. A system that, right now, just doesn't exist at this scale.
Okay, so after hearing all those challenges, you might be thinking this whole thing is a pipe dream. But here's the thing. Some of the biggest players in the world are already pouring billions of dollars into solving these exact problems, determined to be the ones who crack the code.
What's really cool is we're seeing this race take shape on a couple of different fronts. You've got the industry giants, like Airbus, who are exploring how to burn hydrogen directly in a modified jet engine. But then you also have these agile startups, like ZeroAvia, that are developing hydrogen electric systems, where fuel cells create electricity to power propellers. Both have their pros and cons, and both are getting some serious backing.
And Airbus isn't just making promises, they're actually building planes. Their ZEROe program is already developing and testing different aircraft concepts. And they put a date on it. They're targeting having a commercial hydrogen plane in service by 2035. That is a seriously ambitious goal, and it's lighting a fire under the entire industry.
And this just shows you that this isn't just about experiments in a lab anymore.
This is real business. A huge player, American Airlines, made a deal for up to 100 of these hydrogen electric engines from ZeroAvia. That's a massive vote of confidence, and it's exactly the kind of move that starts to break that chicken and egg deadlock, at least for smaller regional flights.
Okay, so we've got the dream, we've got the huge challenges, and we've got the key players all in mind. So what does the actual timeline look like? When might we actually be able to look up and see these planes in the sky?
Well, the consensus is that this is going to be a gradual rollout. The first step, probably happening by 2030, will be the smaller regional aircraft, think 20 to 50 seats. Then, by 2035, we could start seeing those 100-plus seat jets that Airbus is gunning for. And then, from 2040 on, the big prize is scaling up to the real workhorses of the sky, the 150-seat jets that fly the most common routes today.
And if you want to know how serious this is, just follow the money. The market is projected to absolutely explode, growing more than 10 times in a single decade, from about $500 million today to over $6 billion by 2035. That's not a fad, that is a fundamental technological shift happening right before our eyes.
Now, this is why you're not hearing about hydrogen-powered flights from, say, London to Singapore just yet. The strategy is to go after the shorter routes first, flights up to about 2,500 kilometers. Why? Because that's where the vast majority of aviation's emissions actually come from. It's the smartest way to make the biggest possible impact in the shortest amount of time.
Phew, okay. We have covered a ton of ground here. The incredible dream, the massive hurdles, the people actually making it happen. So, after all that, what's the one big thing you should remember?
It's this. Hydrogen is not some silver bullet that's going to magically fix everything overnight. But it is a truly transformative and vital piece of the puzzle. The future of clean flight isn't going to be just one single solution. It's going to be a diversified strategy, one that uses hydrogen, but also things like sustainable biofuels, and just huge leaps in aircraft efficiency. Hydrogen is a pillar of that strategy, not the whole building.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If hydrogen is going to tackle the short and medium flights, and biofuels handle the long-haul ones for now, what else is out there? What's the next big innovation? How else are we going to reinvent one of the most incredible things humanity has ever achieved? The ability to fly.